Good morning, Sir Martin. What's up? What's cooking? Today, I want to touch once again on GB, but I want to make a few proposals that I believe can really help this country. You know, while I gave my opinion on plausible solutions, I will say this much. I spoke to the temporary managing director, Mr. Washington. We had a very candid conversation, and he explained me GB's standpoint and GB's position and interpretation on certain things. I want to congratulate Mr. Washington and the GB management team that had the discussion with the people of St. Martin last week, Friday. I think it was a great conversation. I think the most important thing was the transparency of the situation, the honest answers, and sure, I'm sure some people didn't appreciate the answers that were given or didn't like them, but you know what? At least you got a truthful answer. You didn't get a wishy-washy dance around the block answer. You didn't get an answer like what we're getting today by suddenly politicians jumping up and coming with all kind of solutions. But they were there for 4 years and did absolutely nothing other than put the company in the situation it is today. You see, that you didn't see in the GB presentation. You saw honesty, and while I didn't agree with everything that was said, I will give Mr. Washington kudos with his team for the positions they took. I believe that at the end of the day, GB is the backbone of the economy of St. Martin. Without electricity and water, there is no economy. Not the way we know it. And you see all the bad publicity started about blackout country and all these things. And if we like it or not, we're going to have to deal with this matter very seriously. So today I want to look at, while GB is talking about the power badge or maybe the containerized power plants that they want to bring in or try to get big businesses back online, we need more than that right now. We need more, not only from GB, not only from government, not only from the community in general, but also from the business sector. And the business sector, I want to single out one specific group, the banks. The banks in St. Martin have a role to play, and I don't understand why they're not playing that role right now. You see, we need to look at the bigger picture. When I say I didn't appreciate everything I heard in the presentation of GB, is I missed a fundamental aspect. I missed alternative energy, renewable energy, green energy. I didn't hear none of that. And while the electricity concession of GB speaks of such, while we have an energy policy since 2014, it is difficult to understand sometimes when you're on the outside why it doesn't happen. But I was also on the inside. I was one of the authors with the energy policy. And it is, you as a civil servant, you can write and advise, but you cannot decide. Those that sit in the seat at GB and those that sit in the seat as shareholders are those that can decide, but did not decide. But today is not about that. But it is to give you an introduction on what the problems can be as we go along. I want to propose that local banks decide to take a position together with government, NRPB, the Dutch, I don't know, and give loans. Two types of loans. A 7 to 10 year loan for solar panels on your roof, for businesses, for residents. If you can give $30,000 loans for cars that do absolutely nothing but enhance the style people drive in, you can give them a $30,000 loan to put solar panels on their roof and enhance their lives because of the constant darkness and the food spillage and the loss in appliances. You can give businesses, especially small businesses, a loan so they can keep the lights burning during business hours, so they can make money to pay their employees, pay their premiums, pay their taxes. This is what it's about. I want to propose to businesses to make an agreement with banks. Just like how banks go down when they have the blowout sales for cars, that banks go to the businesses and they open the containers and they have 5, 7, or 10 megawatt generators that are dual fuel, be it diesel and propane, whatever, so that people can get a 5-year loan for a $6,000 generator and pay back $100 plus 7% or 5% interest a month. Do that, and you are helping your country as a corporate citizen, instead of putting $1 something banking services and charges for every deposit made or for every transaction. You want to help your country? Do that as a bank. Then you're talking corporate citizenship. A sponsorship is nice, but it isn't going no place right now. No place right now with this in Samaritan. Our economy is suffering. The small businesses are suffering. They are not the big businesses. They're not the hotels that have big generators. These boys and girls, when the business has no light, they can hardly sell. If they're in the industry business of selling food and drinks, and blenders ain't working, and freezers are off, everything getting hot, they cannot do business. This is reality, people. This is the reality. These are the proposals I believe. This is not politics right now. This is, let us do it correct this time. There's a lot of talk. And last night I saw a nice post from Shoes Richardson. And he said, maybe the NIPB can help with a revolving fund. And, you know, bring it back. And there was a notice, I believe, by MP Gomes said, but all the money has been allocated already. And that is true. But what was forgotten to be said is that over $200 million has been allocated but not used. And that money has generated millions of dollars in interest. Go and ask the trust fund. Go and ask Mr. Clarence Connor. And that money has not been allocated. That money can be used for this revolving fund. So you see, there are solutions. There are plausible solutions at the tip of our fingers. We need to demand that this is being done the right way. We can finger point from today till next year. But who do what and who didn't do what? And that's the political season. Campaign time is coming. Fingers will be pointed. People will be blamed. People will be called out. Contracts will be shown who enriched themselves. You name it. But that is not going to fix the darkness in your house at night or the darkness in the business during the day, and they cannot function. This is the problem that we are looking at. And I want to believe that the government can also assist, because we have bigger generators in Samaritan, 150, 200 kVA, that we can put in strategic places and light up homes. We can do that. Honestly, we can. And think of areas like Belvedere, the cluster homes. Because so many of them are together, you have one point where all the meters come. And you can easily make the connection there with a transfer switch. It can be done. We are talking about an emergency situation. That's what it is. And we have to treat it as a crisis. We cannot talk about, oh, let's wait for 3 months until the containers reach. We're in the midst of hurricane season. And as the hurricane comes, a lot of things are shut down. And we must be prepared. But right now we are not. if we like it or not. We are not. And anybody wants to tell you different, that is their right to tell you. But I have been around the organizations long enough. I know what it is. I know what it takes to be ready for a hurricane. We are not. We don't even have a pump to pump out water. We got to pray that the sea ain't big and it comes in the pond instead of going out of the pond. And then we start flooding people. But again, when it comes to GB, there are plausible solutions. Banks can give loans for solar panels. It will take 3 to 6 months to get them on your roof. But remember, GB said their problem ain't going away for the next 24 months. They have a structural issue that needs attention for 24 months. Now, why can't we then also be part of the solution? Put solar on our houses. It brings down your bill. You can repay the loan, the revolving loan, be it through the central bank, be it through the NRPB, be it through like how credits does it right now through the banks. It can be done. Let no one tell you it cannot be done. Let them maybe tell you they don't want to do it because they got a generator already and they're okay. But let them not tell you it cannot be done. And if the banks don't want to do it, then St. Martin has to pull the most logical conclusion. We need our own development bank and we need our own bank. Because if those that are here are not willing to serve us here, but only their masters abroad and send out their profits abroad, then they are not welcome here anymore. That should be the message of the government. That should be our message. We should not be afraid to speak out. I'm not telling you to bully the banks, you know. I'm not saying that. But I'm saying there comes a time that we have to stand up. All this nonsense about, oh, you got another chance to do it right. Do what right? For God's sakes, look at where you all have us. TLM up shit streak. GB up shit streak. We don't know where the hospital still stands. The airport ain't going and coming. Please, please. Let's not talk politics. Let's deal with the fact. How do we get this country back to light? How do we ensure that tourists in Canada are not reading that when they come here, their room's going to be hot, the food might be spoiled because it wasn't refrigerated? These are the things that we got to be talking about. How do we deal with these matters? Now, there's one way you can fix that. Get the light back on. And I just gave you two solutions. That if we really, really want to do something for this country, that is the way to go. When it comes to GB, and I spoke to them, and I hope that what we discussed is reality. A lot of people have spoken to me. I go to shop nearly every day because I don't keep too much in my house. Because with the in and out, I don't want it to spoil. Very often, when I go to the stores, the first thing they say, Mr. Van Camper, my TV ain't working, my fan stopped working, my fridge ain't cooling no more. What do I do? You, as a consumer of GB, you have the right to go and file a claim. I advise you strongly, file your claim. Do not sit home and talk and don't come tell me and you don't do nothing, because then you will get nothing. But if you have a legitimate claim, I am sure that NVGB will honor your claim. Now don't go pick up an old fridge on the French side, bring it to the Dutch side, put it in your house, and then call GB, tell them your fridge bun. Because then you're a fraudster. That's not the way we got to work with each other. I don't think GB will not honor claims, but if you start to defraud the system, GB is going to become very defensive, and understandably. So please, as citizens of this country, let us do what we have to do. Let us play our role. To the banks, please help your country. Be the corporate citizen that you should be. Give loans to people to put solar on their house or buy a backup generator. We need it. God, in this time, we need it. I would not be a proponent of just doing things and putting GB in darkness financially. But right now, GB cannot give you the power. GB is short 10 to 15 megawatts every day. So 1,000 generators of 10 kVA is 10 megawatt. And GB, when it cut districts, make sure that the places we cut are the places we have placed the most generators, so we can try to keep as many people out of darkness as long as possible. That there is no load shedding needed because we have enough auxiliary power on the island by homes. If we do that, we have a good chance that we will be ready for the season when it comes, that we might be ready electrically for when the calamities strike us. We need to understand what it's all about. I don't want to make a bunch of noise. Other than that, I have given you the solutions I believe will do something for us. When we look at the midterm and we deal with alternative energy, green energy, renewable energy, think on the solar panels, think on wind energy. Right now, 60+% of your bill is fuel clause. So if you spent 100 guilders, 60 guilders is fuel clause. Can you imagine that you don't have to pay that no more because it is solar power or wind power? Do you know what those savings will do for this country, for its people, for the businesses? Remember, I just said GB is the backbone of your economy. So if the critical factor of electricity and water takes a deep dive, because businesses pay fuel clause on their water, if they get that break, do you know what this means for us, the consumers? For us, the people that shop in the stores? Yes, the war in Ukraine is there, but I don't need the oil. I got sun for free. I got wind for free. But we are not talking about those solutions, and that's what's bothering me. That's what's bothering me. There's an envelope for 200 million euros that we can use as long as it is a sustainable solution in alternative energy or renewable energy, or if it's a sustainable solution in economics to keep your economy afloat. We haven't even touched that envelope. We haven't even put in a plan for it. We have talked about it. You see, we belong to the blah, blah, blah community. We talk a lot, but we do very little. And that's unfortunate. But again, those that are sitting in power can do something and should do something. And those that were in power showed you that they did absolutely nothing for GB. I mean, even TLM, they got a big problem. But again, like I said, I have given you plausible solutions. And I hope that the banks come together, talk to the NRPB, talk to the government, talk to who you got to talk to, and get this done. Because the NRPB is busy with a project, my brother, they are busy with the landfill for 6 years, they ain't gone a step yet. They don't even have a weighbridge at the landfill. And I'm sure when you ask them, oh yeah, we ordering it, we procuring it. 6 years. All right? We don't have that time. We really don't have it. So again, I know we have a lot of problems in this country, but I think GB is at the top of the list. There is no other problem bigger than GB right now. There is none. And we should treat that problem as the number one, and we should deal with it accordingly. Because if we don't, we have a problem. We are not going to survive into the next high season. We're going to be in problems. We're going to be in very serious, because people are not going to come. The message is being sold out there that you might have to sleep in heat. While you come for the exotic pina coladas, you might have to sleep in heat. Because the hotels have nothing. And I don't believe that's true. But again, I cannot speak for them because I don't know their situations. But maybe we have to look at those situations and ensure that they are ready also for season and do what we have to do. We have time to prepare for that. And I think we really, really need to do what we have to do. Remember, besides GB, we also have a very serious communication issue by TLM with not being able to make calls or losing the internet. I understood there's a new internet system switch over coming end of this month, so I will reserve my comments for a while and give them the opportunity to do what they have to do, and we take it from there. Now, yesterday there was a call for a meeting between the two unions, I believe. I think it's the WICSU and the Y2. Because there seems to have been a political fallout for the payment of covenants signed, and the newspaper had been a little bothered, but I'm not sure if it was in December 2023 or April 29th of this year. I think it was earlier. The one in December, it's 2 dates. It was December or April 29th. One of the two. Two things that caught my eye. And it was in the covenant, there is more vacation days. There is the vacation pay. You have the 6%, and then you have the extra 1% have to be paid, so they go up to 7%. And you had the indexing also, and there was something else, I'm not sure. And I know the 1% is tied to the budget, the new 2024 budget, which passed in Parliament and was sent to the governor for ratification. And the governor said by June 26th, it will be ratified and placed in the National Gazette, making the budget official. Now, I think the Minister of Finance came up and said, I will pay the 6% vacation allowance on the 14th of June, which is 2 days from today. I will pay salaries on the 25th of June, and on the 26th of June, when the budget is formal, it is law, because the ratification of the budget means it has become law. I will pay the 1%. That created an issue between the unions and the Minister of Finance, and they labeled it as the Minister of Finance or the government not wanting to adhere to the covenant that was signed with the previous government. Now look, again, I ain't into playing too much politics with people's money. But if you sign a covenant and you know that the budget hasn't been approved yet, you know that covenant has no value until the budget is approved and ratified. If anybody had a fight, it would have been a fight with the governor. The governor ratifies it. The Council of Ministers can't tell the governor, sign it, no, otherwise you're going to see. No, there's a process. So I didn't understand the standoff. Now, mind you, I know the unions well, and I support unions. I've always believed in taking care of your workers. When I was in public works, there's one thing my staff has always told everybody. On campus, a hard man, but he's a fair man. He stands up for what is right. I always used to tell him, you want to tell me something, you want to do something with my employee, you come to me. I'm his boss. I will deal with it. You tell me what it is, and I'll deal with it. I always told my employees, never lie to me, because then I don't know how to protect you. If you did something wrong, at least I can protect you. The same goes for the unions. Unions are there for their members, and they will do everything they have to do in their power to protect their members. But I don't understand the protection now. I'm trying to understand the protection, and the reason I say so is because of the budget being legal, being formal on June 26th. In last year's budget, which is customary for government, when the budget is not approved, they go back to the 2023 or the year before. So this, in this case, it will have been the budget of 2023, and whatever was in there, they can do. But the 1% vacation allowance was not in there. So you cannot just go and say, well, the 26th is legal, so put it on the payroll or put it on the vacation allowance of the 14th of June. You cannot do that. In 2023, 6% was there. There was no 7%. So you cannot pay 7% now in June 14th. And if the unions are asking for that, then the unions are asking that the government acts illegally. Because that's what it is. Let us not beat around the bush with that. I don't know about the other things. The vacation days, I think that's an internal matter that can easily be adopted, because you have to, again, change the ordinance. Because right now, the ordinance in the LMA says how much days you get. Above scale this, you get 28 days. Above scale that, you get so much days. Above that, something like that it is. But that has to be changed, because they have agreed to add it on days for the civil servants. But the law has to change. Again, the end signature is the governor, and then it has to be ratified. Now, my thing is this. When were those LBs made? Because if you sign in December, why would you have only fixed the LBs on the 29th of April, 4 days before you left office as the government? You must explain to people the whole story. Because I have a problem when we sell piecemeal. I'm not going to accuse nobody now yet of playing politics. But if that becomes clear to me, I will call them out. Because the last thing a union should do is play politics. You always lose as union, because you have members on both sides of the fence. Some for government, some for opposition, some don't even vote. You cannot play politics with it by blaming this one or blaming that one. That's all I'm saying. I ain't getting into no tit for tat with nobody. But then again, I ain't afraid neither. At this point in time, civil servants have a right to vacation pay on the 14th, which will exclude the 1% for the 7%, for the mere fact that the budget has not been ratified nor published at this point in time yet in the National Gazette. And they have no right to it yet. Point. That's the law. If you all are saying break the law, then come out and say so. Come out and say so. And then we're talking a different story, though. Then we're talking a different story. Other than that, I don't understand the action. But maybe I am missing some things, and I will stand corrected. I don't have a problem standing corrected. I know the president of the WICSU well. I know Claire and them well. I mean, I know the players. So I'm not here to bash anybody. But I just needed to understand the clarity, and I can't. I read a newspaper article today. I'm not getting the clarity. The union is okay again because Luke sent a letter that they're going to respect the covenant. But the covenant was being respected. I don't understand where it was not being respected. That would be great to understand, because at least then the population also understands. Because every time there's a call out, I mean, we have exams ongoing, and the school union calls for a walkout or for a meeting. When we have exams ongoing, the core task of a teacher is to ensure the well-being of the child. My mother was a teacher for 27 years, and she made a lot of sacrifices. So we couldn't have done this next week when exams were done. Your message lost its validity by me because you sacrificed children in exams for 1% vacation allowance. I can't see it another way. Sorry, but I can't see it another way. Again, like I said, I'm not here to protect the No party that holds the education ministry, because this aspect was a financial aspect. And I'm trying to figure out what the issue is, and I still can't find it. The national decrees to cover most of these things are where? I have asked around. I don't know. I haven't gotten an answer to tell me it's by the governor, it's by this one, it's by that one. I don't know. The vacation days, that's the LMA, that's the Prime Minister. The budget, that's the governor. He has to finish it. Parliament finished it, it went up according to me. So we have to be patient with it. And the dates that the Minister of Finance gave, in my opinion, were fair. I mean, the 14th is vacation. The 25th is salary. The 26th, upon the formalization of the law that Budget 2024 has been passed, the 1% will be paid. I don't understand. Maybe, please, those that are listening, please explain it to me. Send me a message. Call me afterwards. Please. I really need to understand it. I need to talk today about something. It's called committed to transparency. I have heard that term now too often. It is election time. So naturally now, we are committed to transparency. We are committed to honesty. We are committed to being integral. We are committed to this. We are committed to that. We are committed to anything to get your vote. That's how it works. The problem is this norm is becoming the daily norm. But it is this government that my party and I are part of that said 2 weeks ago in a press briefing that they have uncovered a lot of wrongdoings. The Prime Minister said that he met a bankrupt country. The Minister of Finance said, you're talking, the former Minister of Finance, my apologies, said, you're talking nonsense. I left a lot of money in the kitty cat. Who's lying? Because at this stage, the people that are most confused are the people that have to go to the polls. You see politicians attacking, former ministers attacking the present minister that they don't know what they're doing in VSR. And this is lacking, this is lacking. And again, the only persons that are lost are the people that need to go to the polls. And I'm saying, if we are committed to transparency, then come out with what you found. Let the public see what is going on. I want to believe in every ministry they find craziness. It don't need to be fraud, you know. But if you show why education failed, for example, and you break it down, then people will understand who to support and who not to support. If you show in Vromi what really went down, you know, which type of permits were given, by whom they were given, why they were given, while NVGB can boldly state they were not informed of these big projects, so they were not able to prepare for the load. And then you say, let me offer the school children an office in the government building so they could study because of the current problems. This is politics, people. And like I said, I don't have a problem playing politics. The difference is I come out and say what I gotta say. I don't mince no words with it. But if things were done intentionally wrong, then, and I use the word intentionally, then that should be reported. And if this government feels they're going to hold that for the campaign trail, then you're just as accountable as them, because you're an accessory. Then you're an accessory to the fact. Yes, I said it. And people say, oh, but you're one of them. No. I know what it means to fight a fight. Believe you me. What I don't want is people constantly being misled. The last election, they misled them that I can't take my seat. Well, I can take my seat. And I will publish that in the Daily Herald as a paid advertisement, so that there will be no article full of lies about who said what and who didn't say what to please candidates and other parties. It ain't gonna happen this time around. But again, like I said, we need to come out and tell the public what's happening. GB is going to take the attention for the next 6 weeks because people are not interested in the so-called commitment to transparency and integrity. People need light in their house. People need electricity so that the food don't spoil. Businesses need electricity so they can make money and pay their employees, pay the premiums, pay the taxes. That's what people are interested in right now. So while this is happening, you have an election running. And a lot of misuse and abuse is going to happen during that period of time. Believe you me. But I think it's only fair, though, that I ask the question publicly about the two candidate ministers that have now become two forgotten souls. What happened to their national decree? The last states, once the formateur sends it up, or the Prime Minister sends it to the governor either agrees with it and signs it, or he disagrees with it and sends it up for annulment. Up until this day, those decrees have not gone to Holland. So I have to believe that they were approved by the governor. But when you ask the candidate ministers that question, they tell you, no sir, it's on the desk of the Prime Minister, because the governor sent it back and tell him you're not following my advice that I gave you. So these things are not ready to sign. So what advice did you give, sir? So the public can understand that has to be done on those decrees so that you can sign them so they can become ministers. Because according to me, your position was, I ain't signing for Emmanuel because he's under investigation, and I'm not signing for Mr. Peterson because he was convicted. And the unwritten constitutional norms that you are adhering to are not allowing you to pass those. That's what you said. Maybe I understood you wrong, but I don't think so. I've spoken about this publicly, but it has died a natural death. And I'll show you how it died a natural death. When MP Mingret pulled his support on the Monday morning in Parliament, well, when I say pulled, a letter was handed in by the Griffie and to the government that he no longer supports the Luc Mercelina cabinet. And as such, there was a fall. The Prime Minister immediately invoked Article 49 within an hour, and the Parliament was dissolved. You can't pull that back. The only way the Parliament is going to be assembled is by election. And that's why August 19th, we go to the polls. So in the meanwhile then, there was an interim government to be formed between the 8 that had signed the document, which was the UP NA Mingret. And the governor was busy with that until he met with the Now Party on Friday. Our leader was sick, so I went to that meeting and I spoke to the governor. I will keep that meeting confidential for now because he gave me his word that he will keep it confidential too. I did make some proposals like a minority government, etc., etc. And I asked him if he was sure that the Fabulous Eight or the Magnificent Eight, whatever they call themselves, was still intact, because an offer was made to the sitting government, and he was surprised. The next day, Mingret's support was pulled. So let's go back from Monday to Saturday. An interim government was going to be put in place. New ministers were going to be screened and sworn in. That was the plan. Come Saturday, plan change. Mingret is now back out of the Magnificent Eight, and he is an independent member of Parliament that has pledged his support to the Luke Mercelina government. That's where we were on Saturday morning, I think around 8:30, 9 o'clock, something like that. And since then to now, there has been no interim government formed with the USRM, the DP, the NOW, and the PFP, and independent Mingret. Because he put in writing to the governor that he will give their support. He will give his support to the Luke Mercelina. So why wasn't an interim government formed? I'll tell you why. Because if that had happened, candidate ministers could have been presented again. If it remains the missionaire, you ain't doing that. There's no need to do that. None of those two, though, justify that the decree, the national decree, to make MP Emmanuel, Minister Emmanuel, and Citizen Peterson, Minister Peterson, from being finalized. Those decrees have to be finalized. You can't just throw them aside. I don't care what nobody says. The process started. The process needs to be finished. Saying I am not taking extra ministers in my cabinet is all fine and dandy. But the process, sir, Mr. Prime Minister, needs to finish. So you should take those national degrees and pack them up by the governor. And if the governor doesn't want to send them to Holland, report him. Because it would be a great exercise right now for us to know if those unwritten norms can be maintained when our screening laws say something else. Because we are playing a game of cat and mouse right now. The LBAs are lying on the Prime Minister's desk and nobody making noise. Mr. Peterson and Mr. Emmanuel are both considered criminals, so they can become a minister. That's what it is. Let us not fool ourselves. These people are suffering reputational damage. Emmanuel was a suspect in 2018, and in 2020, he didn't become minister in the first NA up government. He didn't become a minister. And in 2021, the case was thrown out of courts. Emmanuel didn't become minister anymore because he had already left the NA. But the mere fact that he was blocked then, and now in 2024 they started an investigation in 22-23, they block him in 2024 as a minister again. You see, that is a game. Trias politicas doesn't exist by us. Because we are allowing one of the three powers to interfere in the other power. We have a legislative branch, which is Parliament. We have the executive branch, which is the government, the ministers. And we have the judicial branch, which is the courts, etc. The three of them together form the three powers of the country. Nowadays, there's even a fourth power, which is the press, because they are very powerful. But they don't have a legal say, like those other three branches have. And when you get an LB hanging, and nobody says nothing or does nothing, and believes it's going to go away, no. Come August 19th, people are going to get elected. God forbid we don't have any crazy things happening between now and election day. Then a lot of people then suddenly become suspects, because how will they then pass screening? Because, like I said, today for me, tomorrow for you. How does this work? We're allowing unwritten norms become the law. because the law itself is put down beside them. And we refuse to send this to Holland to have it reviewed and a proper answer be given. When Knops did the craziness with the 3 laws, the indecent proposal, if you all can remember it, what happened when he tried to pull the trigger? The State Council of State told him, absolutely not. This is illegal, what you're doing. And I was pulled back. And basically it came to an end. What happens now? Or we keep it here. We don't even send it up for debate in the Netherlands. Let them debate it. Let them say. People in St. Martin, while your constitution says this, while your electorate ordinance says this, while your screening policy says this, you're allowed to use other things to sacrifice those ministers because they are under investigation or because they were convicted because they had a moment of weakness when somebody nearly rammed and killed them. I mean, we cannot just roll over, play dead, and we talk about committed to transparency. No, we are not. No, we are not. I'm sorry to tell you, you could go and write all your damn articles to defend yourself. But this is nonsense. This, what you all are doing, is nonsense. Prime Minister, you are responsible. You have to take those LBAs and send them back up to Mr. Bailey, the governor, and tell him you could do what you want with it. I am reporting to the Netherlands that you are refusing to sign. And then let's see where it goes from there. That's your job. Not to play cat and mouse with the governor. And people's reputations are being damaged. It's unfortunate that I have to say it so, but there's no other way I can say it. I find it a pity that I have to discuss this out here today, but that's the only way, I believe, we're going to get a little traction and attention to it. Because there are so many things that are wrong in this process. But again, like I said, on May 3rd, a government was installed. And 2 members were not, because the governor didn't agree with the decree. And a go and come happened. Today, June 12th, mind you people, June 12th, 40 days further, the decrees are on the desk of the Prime Minister. Yeah, but this is crazy. The process is the governor, you don't agree with it, send it to Holland. Let the Raad van State tell us what it is. Let the experts look at it. Let them say, we agree with Governor Bailey, or we don't agree with Governor Bailey, and then he will be instructed by the government of the kingdom to sign the decrees. That's the law, people. No more, no less. Let us stop pretending. My God, man, I don't understand it anymore. You know, the whole election campaign from November to January 2024. So November and December 2023 and January. There was this cry. There was one battle cry. A government of 4 years. A stable government of 4 years. And when things get rough, a government plagued by Hurricane Irma and COVID. So give us another 4. That was their slogan. People didn't buy it really, and they lost. They only got 7 seats instead of the 10 they had in the previous election. But as people start to dig into this government, it was brought to my attention that in June 2022, when 2 MPs from the up left and declared themselves independent, that the former up leader ensured that the coalition of 6 got the support of 2 other MPs, MP Brownbill, MP Arundel. They joined and they became 8 again. I could remember the paper that did its circles, went to Panama, signature there, come back, etc., etc. And the government continued. Why do I bring that? Because it shows you the maturity of the then Prime Minister. She did not pull the plug. She said, can I find support on the floor of Parliament so that the government can continue? Unfortunately, our Prime Minister in this present government pulled the plug after 1 hour. The other Prime Minister in the previous government negotiated and had discussions and brought in 2 extra members and formed a new government of 8, a continuous government. Stability was guaranteed. And as I kept digging deeper and asking for more information, it became evident, let me put it that way, that there was a government for 4 years, yes. Stable? I don't know. But there was a government for 4 years. But there was a bad government. It wasn't a government that was there to support. It was a government that was paid to be there to support. That's a different story, people. And as the ministers them start to bring out their findings, listen carefully to what I said. We had a government that was paid for from June 2022 to December 2023, because elections were January 10th. I don't care what nobody said. When those documents come out, ask yourself the questions. Is this the way we govern? Is that how you have stability for 4 years? By paying for people to stay in government with you? More to come. There's this other thing about our environment. Who does our environment really belong to? Because you keep seeing story after story. It was the Simpson Bay Bridge. 2-3 weeks later, it's now behind Flamingo Beach. And you have to ask yourself the question, how is it possible that nothing happens? So we come down there, we stop them, the police reach, we stop them, but I haven't seen anything after that. So basically, the norm is do what you gotta do and then just walk away for a while. It's unfortunate because people tell me, oh, but go at a contractor. It's not the contractor. Contractor works for somebody. That person gives them a job and tells them their paperwork is in order. Contractor starts to work, and here's the police now stopping them. Police asks, can I see your permit? Oh no, I don't have a permit, I have a letter. A letter from whom? Who gave you the authority to fill up the coastline? Put boulders, put sand, to drive a machine around to go and pick it up. So I spoke to some people, and no names needed. Why wasn't the Nature Foundation involved? They said, no, Nature Foundation was involved. The Nature Foundation thought that that was the more suitable solution instead of bringing in a badge that will destroy all the seagrass or the seabed. So you see, when you start to hear these things, and I found that so strange, that they would go that way. And I'm not saying they did, please. I'm not saying they did, because I don't think they did. But that's what I heard. And for me, it is this. It is impossible that these things can continue to happen and nobody says nothing. And every time I bring it up, oh, but when Chris was minister, we do this. And I'm saying, again, if it's wrong, it's wrong. If it's right, it's okay. But there's too much of wrong things happening now. There's too much of screaming of permits not being honored or not being given in time. Yet, services were rendered for those permits. That's the talk on the street. There has been no minister of Romy given these permits in this government. None. This government has been cleaning up and doing a lot of research on permits, like I said. And those are going to come out just now. And then we're going to get the real story of what really went down and how it went down. So, again, like I said, who does this environment belong to? Because we can't get to beaches, we can't get to this, and that's why I said last time already, and I'll say it today again. Mullet Bay Beach belongs to the people of St. Martin. Take the damn road and build it along the beach. That beach needs to be protected. Put the 500 parkings there. When I proposed it 20 years nearly ago, I was thrown out of the committee. Phone calls were made from down there, and I was out. And my boss was out. When we went down Weston, same story. We off the projects. Projects are being handled directly by the office of the ministers or the commissioners or whatever you want to call them. Those days was commissioners. This is what it was. So please, let's save Mullet Bay. Let me not wait about nothing with like how they're talking in Kyoso about, oh, we're going to do what the court said. One of St. Martin people got to be on that executive board because there's a bunch of Kyosolinians sitting there alone. And they're doing what they want and they're going to mess up St. Martin. We got to stop that. Nothing against Kyosolinians. I've got a lot of Kyosolinian friends. But this nonsense with the central bank got to stop. I support Bryson and Christopher 100%. Gotta get rid of them. We got to get our own development bank. We don't need a central bank. We don't need a Caribbean Gilder. Because that 25, 26 million we make a year, we could make double in a transaction tax on the 11 billion going through our country, our banks. Before I close, I want to wish everybody a wonderful, wonderful Flag Day come Thursday. Support our flag, the St. Martin flag. Buy one, put it in your car, drive around proudly. We are St. Martin. We are St. Martin. Have a blessed week ahead, and may God continue to guide our leaders, our business people and residents in this difficult situation we find ourselves in right now. So remember, with your support, I will get elected, and I can and will take my seat come August 19, 2024. Please share my podcast and also like and subscribe to my YouTube page. Funks is out. Have a wonderful